Okay, so a large retail company has 500 stores in the United States and 300 stores in Europe. The average number of employees per store is 200 for a total of 100,000 employees in the US and 60,000 employees in Europe. The company is considering offering employees one of two new benefits: one additional day of paid vacation per year or a small increase in pay. A survey will be given to sample employees to investigate which benefit is preferred and whether there is a difference in preference between employees in the United States and employees in Europe. So two sampling, and by the way, they want to know whether or not there's a difference between employees in the US and Europe. That's something to keep in your mind. So two sampling methods have been proposed. Sampling method one: the company will randomly select 8 stores from its 800 stores. All employees at the 8 selected stores will be asked which benefit they prefer. So you go, okay, we have groups. So one of these is stratified, one of these is cluster, I'm struggling, I don't know. All employees will be asked. I have groups, I surveyed everyone, sampling method one, cluster. All right. Sampling method two: the company will randomly select 1,000 employees from a list of all employees at the United States store and 600 from all employees at the European store. Ooh, I'm randomly selected. I have 2 groups, US and Europe, and I'm randomly selecting some from each one. That makes this one stratified. So sampling method 2, stratified. So one of the 2 methods resulted in a stratified sample of employees and the other in a cluster. Identify the sampling method that results in a stratified sample. Well, sampling method 2 is stratified. The strata are the US employees and the European employees. Identify the sampling method that results in the cluster and identify the cluster. All right, this sampling method 1 is the cluster method, and the cluster are the stores. Because, and you're like, well, wait a second, why? What's the deal? And it's because when we survey the cluster, we're surveying every single type of person within the store. We're surveying the managers, we're surveying the custodians, we're surveying those who work at the counters, we survey the stockers, whatever, the salespeople, whatever's in that store, we're surveying all of them when it's a cluster. Give one statistical advantage and one disadvantage of using sample method 1. Advantage: all job types and shifts are assured of being represented in this type of sample. So I get to hear about everybody. I get to hear what the manager thinks, and I get to hear about the worker thinks. I get to hear white collar and blue collar, what they believe. Disadvantage: ooh, this is a big one. It's possible that we might have all the clusters from Europe or from the United States. In other words, we might represent one country but not the other. If that were to occur, and if the countries have different benefit preferences, the sample would not be representative. Advantage of using method 2, the rather a simple random. If we use a simple random sample, it would be possible to select all the employees from the Europe or from the US. The same with the cluster, that could happen. By using sample method 2, which is stratified, we are sure of having representation from both Europe and from the US. And then, did I repeat that question? I did. It's supposed to say, give one statistical advantage and one statistical disadvantage of using sample method 2. This should have been a 2 right here, rather than sampling method 1. I swapped them, or I didn't swap them. By using sampling method 2, which is stratified, we are assured of having representation, so that's the advantage. Disadvantage: we're not going to represent all job types. Okay, so the cluster represents all job types, and the stratified did not.